Picture this, it's 3 a.m., and you catch your neighbor staring through your bedroom window, unblinking, motionless, like a statue carved from moonlight. You blink, and he's gone. This wasn't a one-time thing for Tara Ellis in Texas, 2021. She thought her new neighbor was just quirky. She didn't know he'd been watching her for years, long before she even moved in. Tara had just settled into her suburban rental, a cozy house with big windows she loved, until she met Mr. Grayson next door. He was old, quiet, always pruning his roses. But something about his stare made her skin crawl. That first night, she woke up to a faint tapping on her glass. She pulled the curtains back, and there he was, face pressed to the window, eyes wide, reflecting the streetlight. She screamed, and he vanished. She called the cops, but they found nothing, no footprints, no sign he'd been there. The next day, he waved at her over the fence like nothing happened, humming a tune that stuck in her head. She started noticing things, her trash cans rearranged, her mail opened before she got to it. Then came the photos. Polaroids slipped under her door, her sleeping, her eating, her crying after a fight with her boyfriend. Each one had a timestamp from weeks ago, before she'd even signed the lease. Tara found a box in her attic, left by the previous tenant. Inside were more photos, hundreds of them, all of her, dating back years from her old apartment across town. Grayson's handwriting was on every one, "She's mine." Her stomach dropped. How could he know her? She'd never met him before moving here, had she? She confronted him, banging on his door, but he just smiled through the peephole and whispered, "You're home now." That night, the tapping turned to scratching, louder, insistent, like nails clawing wood. She installed cameras, and the footage showed him circling her house, stopping at every window, staring in for hours. She moved out, crashing at a friend's place, but the photos kept coming, delivered to her new address, showing her in rooms she'd never shared online. She dug into Grayson's past. Turns out, he'd lived in her childhood neighborhood decades ago, next to her family's old house. She found a photo of herself at 6, playing in the yard, Grayson in the background, watching. He'd been obsessed with her since she was a kid, waiting for her to come back into his orbit. Months later, her friend called, panicked. Grayson had bought the house across the street from Tara's new place. The last photo she got was of her sleeping, taken from above her bed. No one's seen him since, but Tara swears she hears that humming every night, closer than it should be. Every night, you hear slow, heavy footsteps echoing beneath your floor, as if someone is pacing in your basement. You live alone, and the basement has been locked for years. This began for Jake Russo in Pennsylvania, 2020, after his new neighbor made a seemingly innocent request that turned his life upside down. He thought she was harmless. He didn't realize she'd already made herself at home. Jake's house was old, a fixer-upper with a creepy vibe he ignored. His neighbor, Ms. Clara, was older, sweet, always bringing him cookies, asking about his day. One afternoon, she knocked, nervous, saying she'd lost her cat and begged to check his basement. He shrugged, unlocked the door, and followed her down. The air was damp, the light dim, but no cat. She thanked him anyway and left. That night, the footsteps started, slow at first, then faster, like someone running laps down there. He checked the next morning, padlock still on, nothing disturbed. But the sounds didn't stop. He'd lie awake, heart pounding, as they echoed up through the floorboards. Then he noticed the smell, wet earth, faint at first, seeping into his kitchen. He asked Clara if she'd heard anything odd. She smiled, too wide, and said, "Oh, that's just the house settling." But her eyes darted to his basement door. Jake found scratches on the basement lock, fresh, deep, from the inside. He ripped it off and went down, flashlight shaking. The dirt floor was dug up in spots, like something had clawed its way out. At the far wall, he found a tunnel, narrow, sloping toward Clara's house. His blood ran cold. Had she been down here? He called the cops, who searched her place. They found her basement full of photos, Jake mowing his lawn, Jake sleeping, Jake eating dinner, all taken from below, through tiny holes in his floor. Clara was arrested, ranting about keeping him safe. But the footsteps didn't stop. Jake boarded up the tunnel, moved his bed, tried to sleep. One night, he woke to dirt on his sheets, the smell choking him. This is where it hits deep. He hired a contractor to seal the basement. They found bones, human, old, buried under the floor. Clara had confessed nothing, but records showed a man vanished from that house in the 90s, her husband. Jake realized she hadn't been watching him. She'd been guarding something else, something that didn't want to stay buried. Jake sold the house and fled, but the new owners called him months later. They'd found a note in the basement, in Clara's handwriting. "He's awake now, thanks to you." That night, Jake heard footsteps again, under his new apartment, 100 miles away. Think about this. You wake up to the sound of digging outside your window, a steady scrape of metal on dirt in the dead of night. You peek out, and your neighbor's in your yard, shoveling furiously under the moon. This happened to Lena Ortiz in California, 2022, a single mom who thought her neighbor was just eccentric. She didn't know he was planting more than flowers. Lena's cul-de-sac was quiet, friendly, except for Mr. Patel next door. He was a recluse, always gardening at odd hours. She'd wave, he'd nod, that was it. Then the digging started, every night, 2 a.m., right by her fence. She'd watch him through the blinds, his silhouette hunched, frantic. One morning, she found a mound of fresh dirt in her yard, a perfect rectangle. She asked him about it. He said, "Just aerating the soil," but his hands were trembling, dirt caked under his nails. She started locking her doors, checking her daughter's room obsessively. The digging got louder, closer, until one night she saw him drop something into the hole, a bag, heavy, leaking dark liquid. Her stomach twisted. She called the police, but by the time they arrived, the yard was empty, the mound flattened. They told her to relax, probably just trash. But Lena couldn't shake the feeling she'd seen blood. She set up a camera the next night. The footage showed Patel digging again, muttering to himself, then pulling a photo from his pocket, Lena's face, circled in red. He buried it, sobbing, and covered it up. Her knees buckled. Why her? What was he hiding? She confronted him, yelling across the fence. He froze, then whispered, "You weren't supposed to see." That night, the digging stopped, but something worse started, knocking, soft and rhythmic, from under her house. She called a plumber, thinking pipes. He found nothing, except a crawlspace hatch she'd never noticed, smeared with fresh mud. She crawled under with a flashlight. The walls were lined with photos, her daughter napping, her cooking, her sleeping, all stapled into the wood. At the back, a hole led to Patel's property, and inside it, a box. She opened it, locks of hair, baby teeth, her daughter's missing stuffed bear. Tears stung her eyes. He'd been in her life, her home, 4 months. Patel vanished the next day, house empty, car gone. Police found the box but no prints, no trace. Lena moved, but a week later, her daughter woke up screaming about a man in the yard. Lena looked out, and saw a fresh mound, a photo of them both half buried in the dirt. She still hears digging some nights, faint, like it's waiting for her to come back.